Hello. This week we work on Persian period Yehud, and I want to start that with first a timeline of the events that led to Persia's dominance, and then a discussion of what happened in Judah, which in the coins they found from Judah of that period is called Yehud, so we'll call it Persian period Yehud. And then I want to talk some about the challenges that Judah faced and the ways that it triumphed over those challenges. So let's turn to the PowerPoint now. It'll take me just a minute to set it up. Please be patient. You can check with your textbook, and also there's a timeline in the back of your NRSV Oxford Study Edition that will have these dates in this first section of the PowerPoint on Persia, period Yehud. Or you can also go on to Bible Odyssey and look at their timeline. But let's just rough it out now. A historical sketch, and it is a little sketch. You remember that in 601, Judah rebelled against Babylon, and Nebuchadnezzar may have marched slowly, but the wheels of Nebuchadnezzar ground exceeding fine, and in 597, Babylon conquered Judah for the first time, took its then king, Jehoiachin, into exile, and set a new puppet king, I believe it was Jehoiachin's uncle, Zedekiah, on the throne. That's 597, and for about 10 years, they exist as a vassal kingdom. But then Zedekiah rebelled against Babylon by withholding tribute, and again Nebuchadnezzar marched on Judah, and in 587-86, there's some problem with the chronology. We'll say 587, it's probably 586. Babylon conquered Judah, and this time the devastation was utterly horrible. Ezekiel is prophesying between the conquests and then after the conquests. And in 582, you may remember that Jeremiah advised people to submit to Babylon, but they would not. An elite group assassinated the Babylonian governor, who was named Gedaliah. And knowing that there would be repercussions, escaped to Egypt, dragging Jeremiah on along with them. So really there was a third devastating battle against Judah. And again, elites were taken into exile, but the real decisive conquest, after which Judah was not again ever a Davidic kingdom, that was 587-86. Second Isaiah prophesies very late in the Babylonian period. This anonymous prophet, in contrast to Ezekiel, who prophesied hope when there was really very little reason for it, Second Isaiah prophesies hope when there's a new ruler lurking on the horizon, one Cyrus the Great. And there were reasons to think that there might be a change in government and that it might serve to Judah's advantage. So Second Isaiah preached hope, as we will see later in the lectures this week. And indeed, Cyrus of Persia conquers Babylon in 539. And with that, Cyrus takes over for Persia the complete land territory that Babylon had ruled. Now, Cyrus did not have to defeat Babylon. Babylon surrendered to Cyrus, partly because the then Babylonian emperor, one Nabonidus, was not the least bit popular. He worshipped the wrong gods, he didn't live in Babylon, and people didn't like him so very much. It's also because, despite the brag sheet of Cyrus in the Cyrus cylinder, where he brags about being beloved by the Babylonians, the people of the city of Babylon. Despite that, there was another pressing reason for them to concede without a fight, and that was a town nearby had resisted Cyrus, and when he conquered it, he had killed everyone that submitted them to the ban. But in any case, in 539, Babylon is conquered, and Persia now rules. Here is a bas-relief of Cyrus dressed as his god. His god was Ahura Mazda. I didn't pronounce that right, but anyway, here he is, Cyrus. And here are some of his soldiers. I find it fascinating to see wall paintings because they give us a little bit more about the skin tone and hair tone and dress and so forth of the peoples. And it's fun to contrast that, so utterly different than European painters painted them. Anyway, here are his soldiers. And in 538, he allows those who want to, in the Edict of Cyrus, read all about it in Ezra 1, 2 through 4, and then again in Ezra 6. He allows those who wish to return to Jerusalem. It's not that Cyrus was such a wonderful guy and he wanted to be so kind to the people. It's that Egypt was not yet conquered and he needed a buffer between himself and Egypt. So it paid him to have friendly Judahites supporting him rather than Egypt and rather than rebelling. So Cyrus ruled with an iron hand gloved in a velvet glove. Cyrus's edict, according to Ezra 1, 2 through 4, said that the Lord, you'll notice he used the name of the God of the people. Yahweh, the God of heavens, has given me the kingdoms of earth and has appointed me to build him a house in Jerusalem. That's Ezra. Now, the interesting thing is that the Cyrus edict, which is a clay, not the Cyrus edict, the Cyrus cylinder, a clay cylinder covered with Babylonian cuneiform and written to Babylon, brags that Marduk, the god of Babylon, has given Cyrus all the kingdoms of the earth and has instructed him to rebuild the temples in Babylon and to restore the gods and goddesses' icons. And so it seems to be his policy to woo the people by speaking in the name of their gods and by refurbishing their holy sites. In any case, the temple is not rebuilt during the time of Cyrus. Cyrus dies and there's another Persian emperor, and then there's another one named Darius, the second after Cyrus. And during the time of Darius, and after Zechariah and Haggai have urged the rebuilding of the temple as prophets of this era, the temple is in fact rebuilt between 520 and 515. Persia, in the meantime, conquers northeast Africa, as you can see, and so Egypt comes under its governance, and it goes from Egypt all the way, including Anatolia, all the way across what are now Iran and Iraq, or rather Iraq and Iran as we go eastern, to the western edge of India. It is a huge empire. And that is the time of Nehemiah and Ezra in the mid-400s, the mid-5th century, a little after the rebuilding of the temple, maybe 70, 80 years. And Persia continues on until 333. And you probably have heard about the ruler who conquers Persia in 333 because it's Alexander the Great. That concludes our timeline. I'm going to stop share now, and we'll have a second video talking about the move from Babylonian Judah to Persian Yehud. But for now, we stop.